This season for Real Madrid has felt so long. It's had so many ups, but also so many lows. From starting off the season the same way they ended the last one, to then dropping so many points right before the World Cup, to then having a pretty good Champions League run, but then ultimately getting slammed by Manchester City. But they also won La Copa del Rey, which they haven't won in a long time. But then after winning La Liga last year, they lost it this year to Barcelona. So this season has certainly been a wild one. It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't bad. I would say this season was average. But who were the best players who participated for Real Madrid this season? That's something I want to discuss in this video. I'm going to give a top 3 and some honorable mentions. But before I do that, please hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Now let's get into it. Coming in at number 3, we have Valverde. In the first half of this season, Valverde was without a doubt the best player Real Madrid had. He had his most goal contributions. He was just a rocket running up and down the field. It's the best he's ever played in a Real Madrid shirt. However, he had some family issues during the second half of the season, and that led to him falling off in form. The issue he had was that there was a high chance his pregnant wife was going to lose their baby, which obviously that would affect anyone mentally and physically. However, after a really tough time and a couple of hard months, the doctor confirmed to him that the baby was okay and was going to be born. But during this time, you could tell that something was going on with Valverde. His spark and pure passion that he always had was completely gone, which, like I said, is completely understandable. That incident that happened with that Villarreal player stemmed from this. That situation that Valverde was going through was used as an insult by that player, and Valverde retaliated by punching him in the face, which is completely understandable. So even though Valverde eventually fell off in form, he was still one of the best players Real Madrid had overall in the season. But in the first half of the season, he was without a doubt the best player they had. He ended up the season with 12 goals and 4 assists, and he also won La Liga Player of the Month in September, which is obviously really good. I hope next season we get the best Valverde we've ever seen. Now coming in at number 2, Eduardo Camavinga. After the season Camavinga had last year, there were high expectations placed on him by the fans and the club. He was always that clutch player that came off the bench for Real Madrid last season, but this year he was expected to take more of an important role in starting the games. Because last season, he would always come off the bench and change the game, but now people wanted to see him do that while starting the game. So people hoped he would get more minutes, and he definitely did. He started a ton of Real Madrid games. After the World Cup, he came back to Real Madrid and became an undisputed starter for the team. He, in my opinion, was the best player for the second half of the season for Real Madrid. A lot of this stems because he played so many different positions, and he never failed. He played center mid, left back, left winger, right winger. Anywhere Ancelotti needed him, he did it, and he performed well, which is a massive help to the team because the team lacks a lot of squad depth, and this season showed it, but Camavinga stepped up to the plate and delivered, especially left back. Like, he is an insane left back, even though he has publicly stated that he doesn't like playing there, but he's still really good there. Camavinga's main qualities are the fact that he's versatile and he's really calm on the ball. He has great dribbling skills and he has a high footballing IQ, and this season showed it. I'll admit he started off the season very shaky, but as the season progressed, he ended in great form. I remember last year he had a lot of issues with his tackling. He would constantly get yellows because he would tackle a bit too late or a bit too early, but now, in my opinion, he's one of the best tacklers in the world. He's really worked on timing his tackles perfectly, and if you see when he plays, his tackle comes out like a snake. Like, his leg is so quick, it just pokes the ball, and he just instantly gets it. Camavinga is on the verge of becoming a world-class player, but he has to improve in one more aspect, and that's the goal contribution. Hopefully that goes up with him playing more center mid next season, but overall, if he just scores a little bit more goals or even a little bit more assists, he'll become a world-class player. Because I feel like every time he gets in front of goal, he still panics a little bit, but that's understandable. He's 20 years old. I think him and Bellingham, if he comes, are going to be an insane duo for like the next 10 years. Now it's time for some honorable mentions. In the season that wasn't great but wasn't horrible for Real Madrid, I feel like a lot of players could fit in this category, but I went for 2. Because I think these 2 were like the unsung heroes of the squad. Coming in at number 1, Toni Kroos. There's genuinely not much to say here. Kroos has always delivered for Real Madrid. He plays a style of football that's not flashy, so he never gets the respect he deserves, but he always performs. He has never had a bad game, so I don't think he gets appreciated as much as he should. He's always consistently good. He may not always give you world-class games, but one thing he will always give you is a really good game and amazing passes. Now coming in second, I have Thibaut Courtois. I mean, the goalie never gets the credit they deserve, but he genuinely saves Real Madrid a bunch of times. Like, if it wasn't for him, Real Madrid would have dropped multiple points multiple times. Every single game, he makes at least one world-class save. He arguably should be in the top 3 players for the season, but I feel like honorable mention is good. In my opinion, I think he's the best goalie in the world. Now, coming in at number 1, and I think it's the most obvious choice, Vinicius Jr. I mean, he has had an amazing season. He has been Real Madrid's overall best player the whole season, and that's without a doubt. He is the face of Real Madrid as it stands right now, and he's rightfully earned it. He has had 20-plus goals and 20-plus assists in back-to-back seasons. You know how insane that is? In a season where Benzema has been injured a lot, Vinicius stepped up for the team and put the team on his back. He's the player that brings joy to people who enjoy football. But also, this past year, he has faced a lot of racial abuse, and I think that's definitely something Laliga has to work on. Because for so long, they've kind of ignored it or acknowledged it but not done anything about it. But now Vinicius has decided to stand up and not let that happen again. So now La Liga is being forced to do something, which they have to do something. Because whether people like it or not, Vinicius right now is the face of La Liga. Also, Ancelotti's tactics completely revolve around him alone, which I think is a flaw in Ancelotti's game plan, but also shows how good Vinicius is. The tactic is literally just give Vinicius the ball and let him work his magic. However, this sometimes fails and Ancelotti has no idea what to do after. The reason it fails is not because Vinicius can't do it himself, but it's the fact that he has no proper left back to help him. If there's 2 players on the other team completely just defending Vinicius, then he just gets isolated from the whole team. So with a proper left back next season, I feel like Vinicius is going to have an even better season. Because now there won't be as much pressure on him on that flank alone. Also, one thing that has to be acknowledged about Vinicius is his growth. If you remember Vinicius from 2-3 years ago, he is not the same player. A couple years ago, he was a very flawed player, but he knew what his flaws were and decided to work on them, and now look at him. He did what he had to do, and now he's arguably a top 3 player in the world. So those are my top Real Madrid players for the season. If you agree or disagree, please leave a comment and we can start a conversation. I would genuinely like to hear everyone's opinion on this. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to leave a like and to hit that subscribe button. I'll catch you in the next one.